All right, guys. Welcome to Night of Ghosts in our brand new location here, the Pheasant Plucker Restaurant. Try not to say that too fast, otherwise you'll be in big trouble. My name is Daniel. Going to be hosting this evening, and this is our brand new format. A new location, new format. We're going to be sitting in a round table discussion here, just talking about ghosts in general. And I thought maybe, keep us organized, keep us on track. I thought we could do a subject. And what better subject for the first podcast in this location than the idea of what is a ghost? You guys ready for that? I assume everybody here knows exactly what it is? No, everybody's no. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're inside what is the Pheasant Plucker Restaurant. And this place, compared to other locations, is actually quite haunted. I'll tell you, I've had a lot of experience in here over the years, including doing an investigation years ago with Haunted Hamilton that they featured on the menu. It's like our claim to fame. Anyway, we were here at around 3 a.m., just after the bar closed, and we stayed until the sun came up. And up in this area, I remember just a couple quick things. I don't want to make the whole podcast about this, but we picked up on a few ghosts, included an older man who sat in the corner of the room. They would experience him because he would talk, but as well they would smell cigar smoke every now and then. And also a woman with fiery red hair. That's how they described her. Used to stand in the back in the second part of the room, kind of behind where the original house used to be. And of course, the creepiest of them all, as it tends to be, a little boy who's been heard in the basement, of course, as people are locking up. Waitresses have said they've opened the door to the basement. Before they get head down, they'll hear a little boy laughing. Needless to say, they didn't go down. But, the place is very active. It was an old house, a garrison house for a garrison who worked for the court system back in the original days, like the 1850s. And was a house that just went throughout the years until finally becoming a restaurant. So now that you know about the location, this is a good thing, because just in case something happens tonight, we also have our detection tool. Either we'll go with a Ouija or an EMF detector or both. But tonight, no EMF detectors, no REM pods. We got just the standard Ouija board going in the corner over there. So at any point, if anything happens with the board, we'll interrupt the podcast and see what the spirits have to say. Anybody scared yet?
No.
Everybody say, "Oh, Ian, you run an investigative search. You shouldn't be scared of this kind of stuff." So yeah, so just starting where I tell you, the subject of what is a ghost. I've heard many different things over the years, and I'll tell you, with mainstream media the way it used to be in the time of Creepy Canada, what would happen is it would be made more of a joke. So you would have people showing the ghosts. I'll give you a great example. I might have mentioned it before, the Screaming Tunnel. They did their episode there. We were involved with that. And we told them the story. Said the legend is of a little girl who supposedly was murdered by her father inside the tunnel, and it's her screams that you'll hear. She was lit on fire, so if you light a match, she'll scream and the match will blow out. So Creepy Canada, after the fact, added the extra thing that if you see the ghost of the father and he touches you, you will die. And I'll tell you, they didn't tell us. They didn't tell us they were adding it until after the fact. We had no idea until we were watching the show like everybody else. So just so you know, it got to be kind of a joke over the years. And ghost hunters as well, I don't have a lot of respect for that. You do a search on YouTube and you're going to see the fish wire that they use and the tricks of making noise in the distance and not telling the talent. So it looks like it's an actual reaction. Is just so many things that count. It just glosses over what ghosts actually are. And so from my point of view, and then I want to open it up to you guys at the table here, my point of view is ghosts are energy. So whether you're a believer or a skeptic, you can believe in the idea of energy. So we all have it. We're all made up of the same stuff. Us, the table, the chairs, everything around us, sky, sun, stars, it's all the same stuff. So the fact that you have this energy inside of you during your life, and to say emotions create bursts of that, creating even more energy, is it really a far stretch to say that something doesn't get left behind after death? So then you got the idea whether it's a conscious spirit or it's residual leftover energy, that's of course open up to debate. So that's my idea of a ghost, basic energy left over, and I'd say it'd be a very rare occurrence to have a spirit that you can actually communicate as if there's somebody in front of you talking back and forth, which would be known as a conscious spirit. I would think 99% of ghosts are basically just leftover energy, like a movie, just constantly playing an event over and over again. And just a quick example of that before I open it up to the table. There's a story that's out of Niagara on the Lake of there used to be a townhouse complex where a school is today on King Street. And a little girl was sleeping in her bedroom on the second floor of one of the townhouses. When she wakes up, she says she saw a man standing in the corner of her room, stick straight, said his arm was in front of him like this. Now, he stood there for a few seconds. She, of course, was scared, but she didn't say anything. The man never looked at her, slowly walked across the room, and right through the opposite wall. Now, when she comes down the next morning, probably couldn't sleep the rest of the night, but comes down the next morning, tells her mom the whole thing. Her mom just pats the little girl on the head, says, what an amazing imagination you have, and sends her off to school. And it isn't until later in the day that her friend is over and they're having coffee together that the friend from next door says, "Oh, you know what? My daughter had a weird dream last night. Said that this man walked through her wall, stick straight, had his arm in front of him, walked through the room, and disappeared through the opposite wall." So then she knew. She knew it wasn't her child's imagination. So fast forward a few years later, the townhouse complex is eventually sold off. They're going to demolish it for a school. And when they take down the 2 units where the ghost experience happened, like the whole town knew about this, when they took it down, they found a secret wine cellar underneath that belonged to a manor house that used to also be on that land. So the idea again, here we go, a butler, right? Stick straight, arm in front, most likely would have had a towel over it, and going to the wine cellar to get the wine, coming back to the dining room to serve to the guests over and over and over, and there you go, you got a residual energy because of how much it happened over the years. So that, I believe, is the 99%. So why don't we start? Does anybody think I'm full of crap? Somebody say yes. Somebody's got to challenge me here. Oh, okay. Move over here, Paula. Okay, so Paula, what do you think's wrong about it?
I don't believe it's 99% is residual. I believe that there is some residual energy when something happens enough that it leaves that imprint. But when you're talking about actual spirits, I believe they are more conscious than you're giving them credit for.
Okay. Do you have an example of that?
You've heard some of my examples.
I have. Now,
I have lots.
Considering the ones that we've heard on the podcast in the past
Other than
couple
that,
weeks.
no, there's several. I've had times where I grew up in a house that was very active. I remember having an argument with a boyfriend, and he came running out of the kitchen because something threw a plate at him. And he says, "There's an old lady in there, and she's mad." And that was where my grandmother spent probably 99% of her time was in that kitchen. When he walked in, a plate flew at him because I was mad at him, and he swears he's seen an old lady in there, which would have been my grandma. That was not something she did regularly, I like to say. So, but she picked. She was a nasty little thing, but she picked up on, I guess, my emotions, and that can only be. That wasn't a residual thing where she was throwing dishes. It was a conscious. She probably was protecting me, felt my anger, and was reacting to that.
Wow. So so he saw an older woman before it happened.
A flash of an old lady, as he called it. This old lady in the kitchen, and all of a sudden the dish came flying at him.
Now you could almost go to the next level and say that's like a poltergeist.
Well, she was scary enough, yeah. 4 feet of pure terror.
Yeah. I'll tell you, poltergeist is like a completely different subject matter. And again, I would question, like, I understand you, so you saw a flash of an older woman throwing the plate, which makes you think that the woman was reacting to your current state of mind. But so the question is the flash of the older woman. What exactly did he see on whether that could be residual? Because I'll give you an example. So poltergeist, some people say it's spirits. angry spirits. Well, actually, poltergeist translates to noisy spirit. So kind of that thought. But then there's the other thought that it could be caused by emotions. That if you have a certain sensitivity, that it is possible. And a good example is what happened in St. Catherine's on Church Street. I don't know if any of you know that story, but I think it was, don't quote me, 1960s. It's the second floor of what is not a very impressive looking building in one of the apartments. And what happened was some cops were called out because there was a disturbance in the apartment, and they witnessed a bunch of stuff, like a bed levitating off the floor, things flying across the room and smashing against the opposite wall. And I'll tell you, one of the most famous police reports you'll ever see if you look it up is that police report from that night, because 80% of it has been redacted. Like they crossed out anything that made them look insane. And so it just proves it even more. It makes it even more mysterious. But in the end, I'll fast forward, is they thought it was the emotions of a teenage boy that was causing everything, because they never really found any evidence of ghosts, and eventually it just stopped on its own. So so that's a question. So I'm just trying to prove my point. I'm not trying to take away from your experience. Do you have any others that kind of would show a conscious energy?
Well, going back to the horse stable, the original night I told you guys about, there was something that wanted attention. Whatever it was, a physical contact with one of my horses, because I seen her hold back and drop, and then she leapt forward as if she was hit, as if she was actually struck by something. And the only way that could have happened, that could not have been a residual. That would have been something taking an active part, like trying to make itself known.
Moment. Yeah. Was it a stable before? Like, was it always a stable?
It was always a stable.
So there would have been horses in there. How far back?
It's probably a good 100 years old up there.
At least 100 years.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like 100 years ago they weren't as humane
No.
as they are today.
But this thing wanted my attention. We were going back, from the story, remember, we were going back and forth for a little bit beforehand, before it actually physically struck her. So.
Any updates from the stables?
It's being quiet. I threatened it with some sage and
It's
some
still
spirit
back
traps,
there,
but
though.
it's being quiet.
Maybe because you exposed it on the podcast.
It's not happy. It's just sulking.
Well, to support intelligent energy over residual, you have two examples in this room tonight. You've got a Ouija board and you have an EMF recorder. You cannot hold a conversation with residual energy.
Now,
Or you ask a question and it will give you a direct response to that question. That's intelligent energy.
Now, just so you know, when I come back at these things, I'm not doing it aggressively. I don't want you guys to think I'm an asshole or something. But no, I got some thoughts about first with the Ouija board, because if anybody knows my history, that the Ouija board is the reason why I'm doing this. So I've always had respect for it. I've used it as a divination tool for every investigation I've ever been on, and even for the public ones, to the fear of the guests. They kept showing up, which was nice. But so the idea behind the Ouija board, you go a couple of different routes. A divination tool is something that utilizes your living energy to supposedly communicate. So if you're holding divining rods, it's your single energy that's powering those divining rods as you're moving around a space, and then outside energy might come in and affect it. Same with a pendulum. But a Ouija board is the only divination tool that allows multiple energies to combine together. So if you're not a experienced psychic or anything, this is a good way to communicate. Yes, it's with its dangers, and if you guys want to know that, I can tell you that later. But the question has always been, what's happening is you could possibly be tapping into your psychic subconscious and the others in the table when you're using the board, and the energy is being converted into words. And there's a good way to test this. If you're using a board, never ask personal questions with somebody who is touching the planchette. If somebody who's touching the planchette knows, they could just pull it from their subconscious and put it on the board. We've tested this a few times. Somebody would think something and then it would appear on the board. So if you want to ask questions about somebody, make sure they're not on the planchette. So that's a good way to test it. But yeah, no, like I say, whether it's passing energy and your subconscious is pulling it in like a psychic would and just converting it, yeah, I don't know if you can consider it conscious. And same with the EMF, right? If you walk through a residual energy holding an EMF, it's going to go off, right?